Patriotic Education, HSS Explains. I'm here with Dr. Lewenick. And Dr. Lewenick, you teach a course here called The American Dream. So I'm really curious to hear your take on the executive order that encourages schools to adopt patriotic education and to hear your perspective on what patriotic education might mean.
That executive order is something that a lot of historians rolled our eyes at because it called for patriotism by teaching unity. But our country has never been unified. We're not a one-party system. We are messy and argumentative, and that is the beauty of our country. It's also the beauty of teaching at Cal State Fullerton. We have diversity among our students by every range, by race and class and age, but also by politics. And that diversity is a strength. So we get to have everybody together in one classroom, thinking together about shared evidence. But that doesn't mean we're going to all reach the same conclusions. We have never been a unified country, and we are a country that values freedom of speech, freedom of inquiry, the freedom to figure out our own pathways and to self-correct when we need to. That's a kind of patriotism that I support, but it's not the kind of patriotism that the executive order was talking about.
Right now, a lot of folks are talking about the size of the federal government. Can you talk about other times in American history where the government has grown and why?
Sure. Back in the 1930s, one of the main programs that helped pull us out of the Depression was increasing federal employment. Because when the government hires someone, they're not just hiring that person, then that person turns around and spends their salary in their local community. So the government isn't quite a corporation. The government is the force that can help keep the entire economy going. We've had that since the 1930s, but in the 1980s, we had a new way of looking at things when people began to compare the government to a business and to say we needed to make the government smaller. But they have never gone as far as our current administration has been going in the last few weeks.
So, historically, what are some of the arguments people use for wanting to shrink the size of the federal government?
You know, it's complex because most people, when you poll them, will say the government's too big, it's bloated, it's wasteful. But if you ask about specific programs, people like their local fire department. They like their national parks. They like almost any given program. There is a lot of support for. And many government programs are already very lean. We all hate the DMV, but we don't think of it as bloated. We see those people are sitting in miserable offices and working as efficiently as they can. So we have been trying to trim the post office, everything for a long time. And sometimes there's room to trim some things, but in the end, the safety of our water supply, the safety of our borders, the public goods that our government supplies ends up being a bigger value for almost every American.
Can you please tell me, right now, does the level of political polarization, political extremism feel like any time in the past?
It does, but it's not the time most people think. People think about the 1960s, but in the 1960s, actually, most Americans agreed that Martin Luther King was a bad guy. We have changed our ideas since then. We, in the 60s, were all watching the same news, one of 3 news channels. Now we're more divided. We're not sharing the same information. We have to go back all the way to the 1850s, to the time before the Civil War, when people were getting different news depending on their parties. And I don't necessarily think we're heading towards another civil war, but I do think that we are more divided than we've been for at least 150 years. For more information, you could visit my Substack, Notes from a Historian, or you could take an American Studies class here at Cal State Fullerton. You don't have to be a registered student. We have Open University for taking one class at a time. Or you can check the notes in the comments for more sources.